Did you know that over 500,000 people moved to Australia in just 1 year? But that's about to change drastically. In 2025, Australia is tightening its immigration system like never before, and the impact could be massive. Whether you're a student dreaming of studying in Melbourne, a skilled worker eyeing a job in tech, or even a family planning to reunite, these new rules might flip your plans upside down. Some visas will become harder to get, others may vanish completely, and a few surprising new pathways could open for those who know where to look. But here's the catch. Most people have no idea what's really coming. This isn't just about forms and paperwork. This is about your future. So before you make a move, watch this video till the end. Because the change that could affect you the most is the one almost no one is talking about. Number 10, more emphasis on genuine temporary entrant criteria. In 2025, one of the most overlooked but powerful changes in Australia's immigration policy is the tightening of the genuine temporary entrant, GTE, criteria. This requirement has always existed, especially for student visas and temporary work visas, but now the government is taking it more seriously than ever before. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, the GTE is a statement you write to convince immigration officers that you genuinely intend to stay in Australia temporarily, according to your visa conditions. But here's the twist. Officials are now using it to weed out people who may be using student or temporary visas as a backdoor to permanent residency, without a clear plan or real intention to study or work in the field they've applied for. In 2025, expect stricter screening, more interviews, and a deeper look into your academic background, financial situation, career goals, and even your social media presence. Vague or copied statements are being flagged more aggressively, and inconsistencies in your story could lead to automatic rejections. So how do you protect yourself? Be clear, honest, and specific. Explain why you chose Australia, why you picked your course or job, and how it fits into your long-term plans back home. If your goal is eventually to apply for PR, don't lie. Just make sure your path follows the legal process. Many applicants fail this step simply because they underestimate it, but you don't have to. If you want more tips on how to write a strong GTE statement or prepare your visa application the right way, let us know in the comments. We might just make a full video on that. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone planning to move to Australia. It might just save their visa. Number 9, new point system adjustments. One of the biggest shakeups in Australia's 2025 immigration policy is happening quietly, but it's going to impact every skilled migrant applicant, the adjustment of the points-based system. If you're planning to apply for a General Skilled Migration (GSM) visa, this section is critical for you. Australia's point system is how the government ranks potential migrants based on age, qualifications, English proficiency, work experience, and more. But in 2025, subtle but strategic changes are being introduced that could completely shift who gets an invitation and who gets left behind. For starters, age will now play a heavier role. Applicants under 35 will receive a bigger advantage, while those over 40 may find it much harder to qualify. Work experience in Australia, especially in priority sectors like aged care, IT, and engineering, is also being given more weight. Another major shift, partner skills and qualifications. If your spouse or partner has strong English skills or qualifications in an in-demand occupation, it can now significantly boost your points. On the other hand, if your partner doesn't meet these standards, your overall score could take a hit. This means your partner's background is no longer just a side detail. It could determine whether your visa gets approved. There's also talk of giving extra points for regional employment and long-term Australian study, encouraging migrants to commit to areas outside the major cities. This move aims to reduce congestion in Sydney and Melbourne, while supporting smaller communities in desperate need of skilled workers. These adjustments might seem small at first glance, but they can make a massive difference when you're competing against thousands of applicants globally. The message is clear. Australia is raising the bar, and only the most well-prepared, well-rounded candidates will make the cut. Number 8, crackdown on visa hopping. In 2025, Australia is putting an end to a practice that has quietly become common among international migrants, visa hopping. This refers to the strategy where individuals switch from one temporary visa to another in order to prolong their stay in Australia, often without a clear long-term plan or eligibility for permanent residency. While it might have worked in the past, the government is now tightening regulations to close this loophole. Under the new changes, migrants who repeatedly apply for different temporary visas, like moving from a student visa to a tourist visa, then to a training visa and so on, will face stricter scrutiny and possible restrictions. Immigration officers are being instructed to look for patterns of behaviour that suggest someone is staying in the country just to buy time, rather than contributing in a meaningful or legal way. One of the key changes is the removal of onshore visa switching options. In simple terms, you may no longer be able to apply for a new visa while staying inside Australia. Many applicants will now be required to leave the country first, then apply from overseas, especially if they've previously held multiple temporary visas. This change is also aimed at freeing up space for genuine skilled migrants and international students who are following the rules. It reflects a broader shift in policy where the government wants migrants to plan ahead, rather than rely on short-term fixes or loopholes to extend their stay. For those who've been relying on this method, the shift could feel sudden and even harsh. But the intention behind it is clear. Australia wants clarity, intention, and value from its visa holders. Simply staying in the country without a defined path forward is no longer going to be enough to qualify. Number 7. Family visa caps may shrink. One of the most emotional and quietly controversial shifts in Australia's 2025 immigration policy is the potential reduction in family visa caps. While much of the focus has been on skilled migration and student pathways, the family reunion stream, which includes partner, parent, and child visas, is also facing significant changes. The Australian government is now rebalancing its migration priorities, placing more emphasis on economic contribution and workforce needs. As a result, the number of places allocated for family visas is expected to decrease, especially in the parent and other family categories, which already suffer from long wait times. In fact, some parent visas have waiting periods that stretch beyond 10 to 15 years, and with the new changes, those queues may become even longer. For families hoping to reunite in Australia, this is heartbreaking news. It means that many migrants may be forced to live apart from their parents or loved ones for extended periods, with limited pathways to bring them over. These changes are largely driven by budget constraints and a shift towards targeting younger, skilled migrants who can immediately contribute to the economy. There's also growing pressure to reduce the burden on healthcare and public services, which older migrants might require more frequently. In this context, cutting back on family visas, especially for elderly dependents, is seen as a way to manage costs and maintain a more productive migrant intake. Even partner visas, which have traditionally been more accessible, are facing stricter relationship verification processes and potential annual caps. Authorities are increasing efforts to detect fraudulent or convenience-based applications, making it more challenging even for genuine couples. Altogether, these changes reflect a deeper shift in how Australia defines the purpose of its immigration system, from family connection to economic utility. Number 6. Priority for health, aged care tech workers. In 2025, Australia is making it crystal clear, if you're skilled in healthcare, aged care, or technology, your migration journey just got a lot smoother. These sectors are now being given top priority under the revamped immigration policy, and for good reason. Australia is facing a critical shortage of workers in these fields, and the government is using immigration as a strategic tool to fill the gaps, fast. Hospitals and aged care homes across the country are understaffed and overwhelmed, particularly in regional and rural areas. Meanwhile, the tech sector is booming, but struggling to find enough local talent to keep up with innovation and demand. That's why new pathways, including fast-tracked visa processing, dedicated occupation lists, and even state sponsorship advantages, are being introduced to attract qualified professionals in these key industries. For example, nurses, aged care workers, software engineers, cybersecurity analysts, and IT project managers are being added to priority migration lists. This means your visa will be processed faster, your application may get extra points, and you're more likely to receive invitations to apply for permanent residency. What's also changing is how much weight your industry carries. While in the past, general skilled workers were all assessed under similar criteria, now your specific occupation could be the golden ticket. In fact, state governments are actively recruiting from overseas to fill urgent shortages, offering incentives for those willing to work in regional areas or high-need sectors. This is part of a broader strategy to not only boost economic productivity, but also to support an aging population and ensure Australia remains globally competitive in tech innovation. For those in these professions, 2025 could be a rare window of opportunity, a time when the system is actually built to welcome you, not delay you. Number 5. Higher English language requirements. One of the most impactful changes in Australia's 2025 immigration policy is the increase in English language requirements across several visa categories. Whether you're applying for a student visa, skilled migration, or even a partner visa, the bar for English proficiency is rising, and this could be a make or break factor for many applicants. The government's rationale is simple. Strong English skills lead to better job outcomes, smoother integration, and lower reliance on public support systems. As a result, the new policy sets higher minimum scores for tests like IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, and others. For instance, where a score of 6.0 in IELTS might have been acceptable before, many visas now require a minimum of 6.5 or even 7.0, depending on the occupation and visa type. Skilled workers, in particular, will need to prove a higher level of competent to proficient English, especially if they're applying under occupations in healthcare, education, or law. Even student visa applicants are being affected, with stricter language checks before and during course enrollment. And for partner visas, while some English waivers still exist, there's increasing pressure for basic proficiency to become mandatory across the board. What makes this shift more challenging is that test scores must now be recent, usually within 12 to 24 months, and retesting may be required if an application is delayed. There's also less tolerance for bundled or alternative language proof, like education in English-speaking countries, unless it's clearly documented and meets updated standards. These higher expectations mean that even well-qualified applicants might face unexpected delays or rejections, simply because of a few points on a language test. The message is clear. Communication is no longer optional. Australia wants migrants who can actively contribute from day one, and that starts with the ability to speak, read, and write English at a higher level than ever before. Number 4. Crackdown on ghost colleges. In 2025, the Australian government is taking a hard stance against so-called ghost colleges, education providers that exist more on paper than in practice. These institutions often offer low-quality courses or fake enrolments, acting as a backdoor for international students to enter and stay in Australia without genuinely studying. While this issue has been quietly growing over the years, new immigration reforms are now cracking down on such operations, and the consequences for students are serious. Ghost colleges often advertise cheap courses with minimal attendance requirements, drawing in students who are more interested in working than studying. But under the new rules, the government is implementing stricter audits, surveillance, and compliance checks on education providers, particularly private institutions that attract large numbers of international students. If a college is found guilty of breaching education or visa regulations, it can be deregistered immediately, and its students may face visa cancellations or forced deportation, even if they were unaware of the wrongdoing. This creates a huge risk for students who may have enrolled in good faith, only to find out later that their college has been blacklisted. In addition, immigration authorities are now cross-checking attendance records, academic progress, and even work hours to ensure students are genuinely engaged in their studies. Colleges that consistently underperform or fail to report irregularities are being placed on watch lists, and their students may experience longer visa processing times or rejections. These changes are intended to protect the integrity of Australia's education system, ensuring that it remains a legitimate and respected pathway for skilled migration. But for students, it also means being more cautious than ever when selecting a course or institution. Choosing the wrong college could now cost you your visa, your time, and your future in Australia. Number 3. Post-study work rights are being reduced. One of the most significant, and for many, disappointing, changes in Australia's 2025 immigration policy is the reduction of post-study work rights for international students. Previously, graduates could stay and work in Australia for up to 4 years or more, depending on their qualification level. But starting this year, the government is cutting down the duration of these temporary graduate visas, particularly for general degrees that are not directly aligned with critical skills shortages. This shift is part of a broader move to ensure that post-study work rights are given only to those whose qualifications meet Australia's current economic and labour market needs. For example, graduates in areas like hospitality, generic business degrees, or arts may now get only 1 to 2 years of post-study work rights instead of the longer durations offered in the past. On the other hand, students graduating from courses in healthcare, IT, engineering, and education may still be eligible for extended work periods, but even those are being tightened and closely monitored. Another key change is the requirement for stronger proof of employability. Simply holding a qualification won't be enough. Authorities want to see evidence that you're actively seeking or contributing to a relevant job sector. This is designed to prevent people from using student visas solely as a means to stay in the country longer, with no real career trajectory. The impact of this policy will be especially hard on recent graduates who are relying on post-study work experience to qualify for skilled migration pathways. With less time to gain local work experience and lodge permanent residency applications, the pressure to act quickly and strategically is much higher. Ultimately, the government's message is clear. Post-study work rights are no longer a guaranteed bridge to permanent residency. They must be earned and aligned with the needs of Australia's economy. Number 2, increased focus on regional migration. In 2025, Australia is doubling down on its push to redirect migration away from its overcrowded cities and into its regional and rural areas. This shift isn't entirely new, but the intensity and scope of the new policies make it a game changer for anyone considering migration. With major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane facing high population density, housing pressure, and infrastructure strain, the government is now offering stronger incentives for migrants who are willing to live, work, and study in regional Australia. New visa streams such as the Skilled Work Regional, Subclass 491, and Skilled Employer Sponsored Regional, Subclass 494, are getting more attention, with priority processing, additional points in the skilled migration system, and clearer pathways to permanent residency. In some cases, regional visa holders can apply for PR in as little as 3 years, which is often faster than city-based applicants. States and territories with large regional zones like South Australia, Tasmania, and parts of Queensland are also being granted greater autonomy to nominate skilled migrants based on local labour shortages. That means more occupation list flexibility and more chances for applicants with specific skills that are in demand locally. For international students, studying in a regional university can now lead to extended post-study work rights, giving graduates more time to gain Australian work experience. And with lower cost of living, fewer visa queues, and more community support, regional areas are becoming not just a second option, but a smart first choice for many. The government isn't just asking migrants to go regional, they're making it worthwhile. These changes represent a major opportunity for applicants who are flexible with location and want to maximise their chances of securing permanent residency in Australia. Number 1. Tighter skilled visa requirements. In 2025, Australia's skilled migration pathway is undergoing a serious tightening of eligibility requirements, marking a major shift in how the country selects and approves skilled workers. While skilled visas have long been the backbone of Australia's immigration program, the government is now placing stricter conditions on who qualifies, placing more emphasis on genuine skills, work experience, and long-term employability in Australia's labour market. One of the key changes is the introduction of higher thresholds for English language proficiency, relevant qualifications, and job experience. Applicants are now expected to have at least 3 years of full-time experience in their nominated occupation, especially if it's not on the core skills occupation list. Simply holding a degree or diploma is no longer enough. Authorities want to see real-world, hands-on experience that directly aligns with what Australian employers need. Additionally, the skills assessment process is becoming more rigorous. Candidates must now provide detailed evidence of their work history, including official reference letters, tax records, and qualifications that meet Australian standards. Some occupations that were once considered low barrier have been reclassified or removed from migration lists altogether, tightening the overall pool of eligible candidates. Age is another factor coming under review. While previously, skilled migrants up to the age of 45 could apply, there's now a push to prioritise younger applicants, particularly those under 35, due to their longer-term economic contribution and adaptability. These new requirements are designed to ensure that only the most job-ready, in-demand professionals are invited to migrate. It's part of a broader strategy to reduce backlogs, improve integration outcomes, and align immigration more closely with economic priorities. For applicants, this means more competition, higher standards, and the need to be extremely well prepared when submitting an expression of interest or skilled visa application. As we've seen, Australia's 2025 immigration policy isn't just a routine update, it's a major transformation that will affect hundreds of thousands of people planning to live, work, or study in the country. From tighter skilled visa rules and reduced post-study work rights to a crackdown on ghost colleges and visa hopping, These changes signal a clear shift toward a more targeted, economically driven migration system. The government is no longer accepting generic applications or loosely planned visa strategies. Instead, it's focusing on attracting highly skilled, English proficient, and job-ready migrants who can immediately contribute to critical sectors like healthcare, aged care, and technology. At the same time, by encouraging people to move to regional areas, Australia is trying to balance population growth and support communities outside the big cities. But these reforms also bring challenges. Higher English requirements, more intense scrutiny of personal statements, and shrinking family visa quotas mean applicants must now be more strategic, well-informed, and careful than ever before. Simply applying isn't enough. You need to understand how the system works and where you fit into it. While these changes might feel overwhelming, they also present new opportunities for those who are prepared. If you're studying in the right field, working in a high-demand industry, or open to living regionally, 2025 might actually work in your favor. So take the time to plan wisely, review your qualifications, improve your English skills, and stay updated on changing occupation lists. Because in this new era of immigration, it's not just about wanting to move to Australia, it's about roving. You're exactly who Australia needs. Stay informed, stay prepared, and remember, your future in Australia depends on the decisions you make today.